and welcome to the Kink Perspective. My name's Chris. I'm a psychotherapist and consultant. On today's show, I want to embark on a fascinating exploration in the lifestyle. Something that I wrote about it a long time ago. I'd been thinking about it, and it's really this intricate connection between rhythmic beats and the composition of health and well-being within our lifestyle and world of BDSM. What I'm talking about today is I kind of want to unveil this psychological subtleties at play when what I'm really getting at here is music. I want to talk about how music's melodic tones and the currents influence stress levels, help us forge connections, understand emotions, nurture empowerment, and can even maybe even enhance our scenes. Now, as we kind of go through this auditory landscape today, we really need to explore this profound impact of sound on the complex dimensions of our experiences and how they kind of transcend this ordinary world and the extraordinary aspects of the human psyche. So, if we think about all the songs that we've ever heard, some songs make us really happy, they make us excited, they invoke feelings of sadness, joy, erotic empowerment, physical excitement. So all of these things, when I was sitting thinking about them, and thought about, there are sometimes I've been to some dungeons where they are playing a quote-unquote mood music, or sometimes they're playing death metal. I've been to ones that have played rap or classical music, and each one kind of has its tone. So it got me thinking, do people listen to music while they scene? Do you have a favorite dungeon that's playing some sort of song? So I started looking into this, and I started looking at, the effects of music on, it's the ergocentric effect of music on our brain when we're studying or even for performance in athletes, and it allows us to focus and be centered. It allows us to concentrate on the mood. We might even time our motions, and this became this real connection here for me when we are getting music involved in a scene. And I've used music in the past when I've done really heavy scenes where I want to keep a certain rhythm, keep a certain beat, and you might find a song that's quite long and quite fitting. And there are now bands and musicians out there that specifically create music mood scenes for dungeons or parties or whatever you're going to attend. So this led me to a couple of papers I started finding, more so on enhancement of people, whether again in the academic or athletic world, but there is an overlap here into our world, into the lifestyle. So there was one article that I found really interesting, that was, let me find the name of it here. I think it was called how does music activities affect health and well-being? And it was a review of different studies examined on psychosocial mechanisms and our responses to them. So if we're looking at this, the therapeutic realms of music and drawing insights from this review, imagine a world where the notes of music aren't just heard, they're actually become healing vibrations that resonate through our minds. And this ends up painting a picture for us of this vast and diverse activity and the impact music has on what we can do, especially on our health and well-being. Like I said, when we're feeling sad or happy, we have a song that we play, it's going to put us in a certain mood. So from the solace of receptive listening to this communal energy of group singing, for example, these activities become not just a pastime, but really a pathway to mental and emotional wellness. So I want to dissect a couple of the key findings from this paper, and this review unfolds as this spectrum of activities, each kind of carrying their own therapeutic weight. Now, receptive listening emerges as a powerful tool, not merely for entertainment, but as a means to reduce pain and even elevate mood. So here, picture the intimacy of a moment where the right song becomes a good balm for the soul, or group singing as a communal act, for example, really strengthens our social bonds, and in the context of a BDSM scene could actually amplify the shared experience, forging the connections beyond the physical, because now we are tying together what we are doing in a scene in a more memorable way. We are actually ingraining it in part of our physiological responses. So if we look at these psychological mechanisms that are involved, these mechanisms laid bare here in this review were not just about enjoying music. It's about understanding how it can be the catalyst for change. And as it went on, it looked at the vastness of these psychological processes that were involved: pain reduction, mood enhancement, cognitive improvement, so abilities to focus. So, on one study in long distance running, or another one in from different athletes and even some students, how their cognitive improvements on perception and attention to detail was enhanced. So imagine the potential impact here within a BDSM scene. Considering the prospect of using music not only as a backdrop, but as a deliberate tool for altering our emotional landscapes here. So what if the rhythm of the beat could synchronize with the intensity of our scenes? And this is what I talked about before, where I played a song, and I kind of timed each beat or each rhythm to a specific motion or melody of the beat. And that actually took a while to craft. But it's not only it's enhancing not just the physical experience, but the psychological well-being along the way. So I want you to keep in mind the versatility of music here, how it becomes a medium for self-expression, a salve for pain, and how it really does connect all of us. And inside of the lifestyle, where our emotions and sensations are intermixed, and we are feeling multiple sensations at once, or sometimes having them redacted from us, the therapeutic potential of these soundscapes is profound. And in another paper that I was reading, the research on why people listen to music and their underlying dimensions of their musical functions, it was really quite interesting, because certain people gravitate towards music for psychological motivations, because not every person likes listening to music. There are people who prefer to study in silence, or go out and train, or do a scene, while they're driving their car. They don't want to be, nobody wants a distraction. So music here serves as more than a mere auditory stimulation. It becomes a vehicle for us as an emotional expression and connection. And the underlying dimensions of musical functions dive into these intricate reasons behind our affinity for certain tunes, which is why we really get emotional when certain songs, or my God, a song comes along on the radio and we're all start singing it, or another one comes on and we start crying a little bit because it resonates maybe from a past breakup. So here, from an evolutionary perspective, it becomes apparent that music is really deep rooted in our human experience, and it serves purposes beyond mere entertainment. We've seen this in ritualistic or cultural practices, and understanding this allows us to decode these psychological drivers here that lead individuals to seek specific emotional responses through music. So if maybe you're an emotional masochist, adding in a certain tone or degrading type of song may enhance the element of the scene altogether. And the dimensions here of musical functions are really multifaceted. They range from regulation of arousal levels to the modulation of mood and self-awareness. And as these musical experiences in a psychological sense, it really does become evident that music is not just a passive background element, but an active influencer of our emotional states. Now, whether it's a soothing tone that helps us alleviate stress, or a rhythmic beat where we can synchronize our inner rhythms, and music becomes this real tool for us in our regulation of who we are. And it doesn't matter what kind of music it could be. We listen to all types of music because all types of music influence us in different ways. Now, in our BDSM world, this insight opens the doors to intentional use, where practitioners of the lifestyle can leverage the psychological nuance of these musical functions to shape and enhance the experiences within the scenes. Maybe you find out what music that really puts your dominant in a mood and makes him feel more powerful, or makes them feel more powerful, and or really elevates their play or puts them in a higher functioning state for their sadistic pleasure, or maybe something that's really gonna charm or arouse your submissive. Or if you want them more at attention, you're playing some sort of psychological song that could be even torturous to them to listen to. So you're making the scene actually more about the music than what the music is delivering. So, how do we kind of go about highlighting the role of music in regulating arousal or mood? Well, if we zoom in on the role of music here, its impact on our emotional states becomes really pronounced. This rhythmic cadence and melodic nuances of music wield this unique power in regulating our arousal levels. And this regulation extends beyond a simple binary intensity or tranquility. Music becomes a conductor for mood, and these emotional landscapes that mirror these themes and tones of the BDSM scenes really can become elevated, or if we are doing it in a different sense, we can even walk somebody back down. And the interconnectedness of music and self-awareness is equally intriguing, because we see certain compositions can act as mirrors, reflecting and amplifying our inner emotional states. And social relatedness here takes center stage as we explore these communal aspects of music within our communities. The shared experience of certain songs evolving into anthems for some of us creates this collective emotional resonance. I can remember when I was back in college and singing college songs at the football stadium when our team was winning, or when we go to the bar and a certain song came on. Right? The social fabric for us, though, inside of BDSM is not really just created through shared practices, but through shared musical preferences. And the role of music in fostering social connections adds a layer of depth to BDSM. It adds another layer of nuanced connectivity to our community. And it really creates these shared emotional experiences that contribute to a sense of belonging. And as we look at some of these psychological dimensions of music's influence, we can find that the role extends far beyond our preferences, becoming more of a dynamic force, if you will, in shaping the emotional aspects of each one of our lifestyle interactions. So, how does all of this, maybe emotional resonance, work in a BDSM context? And maybe even how do we look at certain songs becoming anthems within our community, maybe that could foster an emotional connection or self-discovery? So if we look at certain songs that potentially transcend their musical identity to become anthems that resonate deeply with us within this community, these songs are merely more than just a collection of notes and lyrics. They encapsulate these shared experiences or rituals or emotions. And for me, I can tell you right now, one song completely comes to mind every time I've ever thought about BDSM, and what song I've always thought about, whenever I've loved hearing it, what mood it really puts me in. For me, that's 9 Inch Nails, Head Like a Hole. And there's really here's some lyrics I want to kind of give to you that when I first heard them long ago, they clicked for me. And part of the chorus: bow down before the one you serve, you're going to get what you deserve. Bow down before the one you serve. Now, I'm not singing it with the same bravado. Obviously, my singing sucks, and you all don't want to hear me sing. If I had to, my life would be in trouble if I had to sing for it. But those lyrics really resonated with me. And when I hear that song, and sometimes I will use that song, it really does put me in more of a depth and really hones my focus. And it really allows us to give these songs, that song for me really becomes a sonic backdrop to specific moments within the groups I'm involved in, or when I'm doing certain one-on-one activities that actually help me transcend just the physical, transcend the infliction of pain upon somebody, because now the experience in their mind, they can hear the music, so they're maybe timing the beat to when the impact is coming. And this whole journey of self-discovery is really intertwined within these anthems if you start to think about them, or if you even are currently using them. We may find songs that take us on this exploration of our desires or boundaries or our vulnerabilities. Some of these anthems become mirrors, and they reflect these aspects of self that are both known and undiscovered yet. Now, in this psychological exploration here of our discovery, music plays this role of guiding our partner, and leads us to introspective moments and revelations. And while we're maybe involved with the song and we hear them singing along or whimpering to a certain melody or moaning out in pleasure because of the beat and the impact combined, we are really starting to elevate the level of play. We're adding another level of nuance to it. So what might be the potential for using some of this music to enhance our emotional experience in a scene? And the potential here to use it as a catalyst for our scenes is really a captivating avenue of exploration. And just as certain songs become anthems for others in the community, a deliberate selection of music holds the power to shape and amplify our emotional selves within the scene. As I've talked about before, that rhythmic cadence, that tonal intensity, the thematic resonance of the chosen composition that you pick can really heighten that impact of emotion and of physicality and the cognitive ability that everything that's going on within our interactions. And the intentional use of music within the scenes goes beyond just background noise. We're drowning out the moans or the whimpers. It does really help orchestrate these emotional crescendos and decrescendos, the highs and lows of the scene. If we look at the dimensions of the influence here, we can really strategically incorporate songs into scenes that enhance specific emotional experiences, whether it's the pulsating beat to intensify a scene of anticipation, or maybe it's an interlude providing a moment of reflection. That music really is an emotional part of who we are inside of the dynamic. And if we look at this becoming a driving dynamic force, it adds more depth and meaning. Why not start to incorporate some of these things? Obviously, you want to consent to some of these things. I mean, consenting to certain music because maybe people have preferences or tastes they don't want to hear, and that's perfectly fine. But maybe finding a scene together with your partner and see how it elevates, or if it is elevating your scene, amplifying it to the next stage. So how do we maybe craft some of these scenes with musical intention? Now, building a bridge between therapeutic insights and practical applications involves a much more thoughtful approach, and recognizing the impact of the music activities that are so diverse, things like receptive listening and group singing and instrument playing is crucial. These activities aren't merely for entertainment, but they really do elevate our emotional well-being. They really do. And I can't overstate that enough. Now, the therapeutic potential of music lies in its ability to create a sensory-rich environment. The careful selection here of what you may choose to play, like I pointed out before, heightens up these emotional responses. And it can really, as that memory grows from that scene, that might end up being the most intense scene you've ever had. And why not? Because that means it gets to live in somebody's memory every time they particularly hear that song. It drives it deep. So now you have a scene that you may have conducted 3 weeks ago, but is still playing live in somebody's mind when they hear that song again. And it may have a reaction they weren't expecting at all. Music in scenes opens up this avenues for testing the boundaries of our emotions, our desires, our vulnerabilities, our excitement levels. And we do this all within the confines, obviously, with a safe and consensual space of our dynamics that we're negotiating. So how maybe to integrate some of these into scenes is an understanding that takes one thing. It's a lot of communication. If you've agreed to it, it's a good thing now. Maybe you're getting recommendations from your submissive or the dominant sitting and figuring out what kind of scene they're going to have and what may go with it. So tailoring these musical choices to suit the dynamic of the both participants is key. And whether it's not, enhancing the intensity of the scene, or it's creating a more serene backdrop for potentially even aftercare, the intention behind the musical selection shapes your experience. So mindfulness in music integration really involves considering the emotional impact of each note and each lyric. It's not just selecting a song that has a good beat and you can smack somebody to it. That's not going to work. You want to have a connection to it, so you and your partner can be connected to that song and the experience. So the goal becomes to synchronize the auditory with the psychological and the physical, which then creates this harmonious interplay that really serves to elevate the scene to a new level. And this deliberate approach here transforms music from one initial element of maybe just even background to more of an active contributor in shaping the psychological nature of the interaction itself. So when we look at this, when we try to explore this idea of using music to deepen this connection, music really then starts to set and helps us forge a deeper bond. So maybe why not? Or conversely, maybe you've used songs and they weren't the right song choice and they didn't really help the scene at all. They kind of distracted from the scene. And that can be problematic as well. So we have to make sure we're choosing or doing what we can to elevate and take each part as we go forward. And if we're using music in the right way, especially in the right context to a scene, it contributes to all of this. It takes our elevation of our scenes to a new place. And that's what we're really after. An experience inside of the lifestyle that resonates with us personally, that doesn't take away from what we're doing, but just makes it better. And when I'm always seeing people going, I'm searching for the next thing, or, we've been working on rope ties for, a few months. Now we want to do rope ties and some impact. So you're elevating, you're building your confidence and you're building your connection slowly but surely. Now you're adding another new dimension. So now we might be doing rope with impact with, death metal, for example, if you're into that. I'm not picking on death metal or rap or jazz. I don't know why anybody listens to jazz, because it's pretty much all notes all the time, all at once. I'm not hating on you jazz people. Please don't send me hate letters, because I don't really care for jazz. I do like some jazz. I don't like it all. But the point is, whatever you're going to do, it's a great exploration for you to find what may work and what might be another element you haven't thought of doing yet. Right? That's why we explore different things in the lifestyle. That's why when we're creating our limits, we're looking at those things that we do. So, I kind of covered a little bit more today. I mean, I cover a lot every time when we talk, but the point is that music it really does, it's in every corner of our life, from ad jingles to anthems, national anthems, to favorite songs, to video games. No matter where we are, there is always some sort of music there, and it resonates with us. And when we hear it, we are instantly transformed, hopefully for the better, but sometimes for the worse, to a place or a time when we first heard that and what we were connected to. And if you can imagine it going to a really good place, maybe when you heard a song and, when you were young, can you imagine what it would be like to hear something with someone you really truly care about, and you're exploring the lifestyle with, and you're taking your scene to the next level, and then you hear that song again in the future? You are going to be transformed back, literally transported back to that night or to that day or whatever. And you're going to remember every part of that scene, what it smelled like, how you were bound, the impacts, the warmth, the cold, the aftercare, the build, all of it. Because as that song is playing, you are going to focus. And that's really one power of that music does have. It really is a connection into our memory. So I'd kind of like to know, I'm going to leave you with a question. I'm going to post it up on Spotify. If you follow me there, what kind of, do you use music when you're doing scenes? And if not, have you ever considered it? If you do follow me on Spotify, please rate the show 5 stars so other people can find it and I can keep my show free for now. I'm getting ready to head towards the end of the year. I'm desperately trying to get out at 100 episodes before the year ends. I think I'm on target. We'll see. Got a couple weeks left. Got to wrap up the show at the end of the year. I do have a book out. Tangled Desires, the intersection between BDSM and psychology, is where we can get ebooks. Yes, I'm working on an edit. I know I say that all the time. It takes a lot of time and I'm very busy. But yeah, I want to hear in the comments today what you thought, what you think about this, how maybe music affects you, and what, if you have or haven't used it in a scene, or if you're anticipating it and using it in a scene, let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, everybody, be safe and stay geeky.